Alrighty, hello everybody, and welcome back to the European Multikey Tournament's quarterfinals. We are finally at the end of the first weekend of the quarterfinals, and oh boy, what a match we have in store for you guys here today. We've got an all-French showdown. It's going to be Milla going up against Baguette2Pain in the lower bracket, if I recall correctly. And these two very, very closely matched, as I genuinely do not know who has the advantage going into this overall matchup. As always, my name is Sparky, and I am going to be doing a bit of a solo job here in the commentary booth to round out this weekend. But hopefully you guys are in for quite a bit of a show here. Looks like the warm-up is out of the way. Got it taken care of off-screen as we were waiting for the countdown to finish. And what a perfect time for it to finish, because we can get into the rolls. Milla rolling the 84, Baguette rolling the 47, and Milla opting to pick first in this matchup, giving Baguette the opportunity to ban first. As a reminder, both players will get 2 bans. The only stipulation is that they can't ban out an entire key pool. So if they wanted to get rid of, if one person wanted to get rid of like the 4 key pool, they can only get rid of 1, not both. So bear that in mind as we get through this proceeding here. And I feel like this might give us a bit of insight as to where these two want to play in. I feel like this could potentially become a 4 to 7 key kind of matchup, and kind of the 8 to 10 key might become the sort of wild swing or ace up the sleeve of the players. But Baguette going to be removing 6k rice to start things off here. Milla going to be up to ban now. And they're going to opt to remove 4 key rice. So maybe wanting to kind of pinch the options on maybe the common keys that both players can play in, and force Baguette to play those upper key ranges, maybe feeling more confident in those picks overall going into this weekend. And for Baguette's second ban, it's going to be 5 key LN, so no bad elixir. Each of these maps, as we move into quarterfinals, have gotten so much harder. Not surprised that they're wanting to pick away at some of these options, because they do pack a bit of a punch in terms of overall difficulty. So you have to see how this transpires as Milla rounds out the banning. Going to remove 8 key LN. And now we wait for the first pick, and Milla's going to opt to go for 9 key rice. So right off the rip, just going for these upper key modes to start things off. And based on the information Baguette has given us, it's like they've only played the 9 and 10 keys. So maybe some knowledge there. I imagine a lot of mutual respect between these two players. I imagine a lot of common knowledge between the two of them, understanding what exactly their preferences are. But when it comes down to tournament, you never know. You gotta be able to do it in the moment. So we're gonna start off with one of the longer maps in this pool. Just over 3.5 minutes. Players are ready. Gonna get right on into this first pick of this best of 9. First player to 5 points. We'll see themselves winning this match. As we wait for everything to sync up, you do have the option to skip the introduction. Some players don't. Thankfully, it doesn't break the client as badly as it used to, as both players finding Very early drops here to start this map off. It does have a multitude of very tricky patterns, a lot of grace notes, a lot of flam rhythms, occupying entire hand sequences, and both of them paying the price for it. But with those trades, does mean that nobody really establishes that major foothold. Milla built up about 300 combo, but found the break to not really get above that 400 combo cap as both players trade misses once again. Now it's just going to be the accuracy keeping Milla afloat with the lead at the moment. 4,000 points as Baguette trades some of those misses right back. And I feel like this is going to be the major tale, is just withstanding the more aggressive sequences with maybe just some accuracy loss. Gotta try and keep the misses to a minimum, but right now Milla doing a much better job of minimizing the damage from the misses. Still in that 97% range. Baguette in that high 95% range, going to give Milla quite a massive cushion to work with through the first third of the chart. 37,000 points to the good as things stand, as Baguette falls down into that A rank range going into this break. And these are those moments where you can find those little innocuous misses, but Milla has enough of a cushion to withstand the one that they did manage to find as things begin to pick up ever so slightly. And Baguette struggling just a little bit through the sequence. Some of these mini jack rhythms, maybe just losing track of which column they're needing to hit some of these things on. And once they do find a foothold, just the rhythm's catching them out ever so slightly. And as we cross into the last third of the map, Milla has extended their lead, 58,000 points now for them as we get into these, dare I say, like ripcordy type runs. Just completely hand-rolling the entire the entire 9 columns. And it has been the same tale since the beginning, where they do find the trades between each other, but Milla's just been able to keep these misses much cleaner. The amount of accuracy loss nowhere near as bad as Baguette during these harder sequences. Their gamble paying off for this opening pick. Still able to keep themselves above that S rank range, 96%. Baguette about 3% behind. Not a bad showing overall, but just in the context of this match, not going to be able to mount much of a challenge when all is said and done. And Milla going to pick up the first point in this match to make it 1-0. A commanding victory, 117,000 points, and holding on to the S rank at the very end. Very well done. And now we'll just have to see what Baguette decides to respond with here. And immediately, not even wasting a second, 10 key rice. So going from 9 key to 10 key immediately. Maybe just opting to go with what they practiced, or maybe just feeling like a little bit more confident in this pick in comparison to the 9 key one. We'll just have to wait and see. Markedly shorter than what the players just went through earlier, at least in terms of overall run length. Just over 2 minutes. See if Baguette can respond with a point of their own, or if the first break point will go over to Milla. We'll just have to wait and see here as we move on to the Evolution of War, our 10 key rice pick for this quarterfinals pool. And very early on, these opening chords catching out Milla more than Baguette, able to establish some semblance of a combo to work with through this opening sequence. Keeping themselves above that 99% mark, Milla not having the best of times in comparison to the 9-key Rice, down in that A rank range. Baguette finally finds the drop in return, but they have so many misses to work with in the back pocket that they've already established a majority of this lead that Milla had on the 9-key Rice map right through this introduction, 95,000 points. And we're not even halfway done with the song yet. As things begin to settle down ever so slightly, a chance for the players to catch their breath, build up some semblance of combo. But it is a very healthy lead for Baguette in this answer back. Their first pick in this match, 7% ahead in terms of overall accuracy. Just looking much more comfortable on this 10-key pick in comparison to that 9-key Rice pick from earlier. And still we continue on. Finally, a glimpse above that 400 combo cap does find the miss at the end of the sequence, but I think that's the first time either player's crossed that mark as the trades begin once again, but I think this one's pretty much set and done. The drain time being so much shorter means that misses are exacerbated to a higher degree, and 200,000 points, a very confident reply from Baguette as they notch it up 1-1 here in this early going. Very strong score from Baguette. Almost 900k on a map like that is insane. And now we have to wait and see what Milla's next reply is going to be. All things square, now essentially a glorified best of 7. Looked very good on their opening pick. See if they can continue that trend if we stay on the left-hand side of the pool. Or if we dive into the LNs, potentially. We'll just have to wait and see what the thought process is from Milla here. And they're gonna have to go for 7-key LNs, so the only key mode that hasn't been touched either by bans or picks. And we're gonna opt to go for our first LN map in this match. Another pretty short one in the grand scheme of things. Just a couple seconds longer than the 10-key Rice pick. But in that runtime, you are just inundated with things to do. This map really picks up at times and can take you for a bit of a ride if you're not too careful. And just by the reactions in that IRC chat, I think both these players might be sight reading this. So we'll just have to wait and see how the raw 7-key LN skills come through as Milla finds a very sloppy start to this introduction. Maybe just not ready for those opening couple of notes. I know sometimes scroll speed can come into play here if you forget to adjust it, going from key mode to key mode. So that's just speculation on my part. We'll have to wait and see what their response after the map is over is. But Baguette finally finds a couple misses of their own, some slider breaks, as things begin to pick up. These inter-column coordination sequences begin to rain down, becomes a bit of density to read through, some very aggressive staircase patterns across the play field for the players to read through, and Milla handling it much better, able to establish themselves above that 400 combo cap before finding a couple of drops of their own, but still above the S rank range, as Baguette trying to keep themselves above the A rank range as things stand. Again, not easy by any stretch of the imagination, and I imagine on a sight read becomes much more difficult to really get a bearing as to what's going on, and maybe just trying to hang on as best they can. But more of the same through these upper key mode maps so far, just a 6-digit lead for the player picking into the map. Some extreme levels of confidence to be able to go into these picks, to be able to perform at a level higher than your opponents. And paying off in the end as things stand. An eighth of the map left to go here. The lead growing to 260,000 points. The trade's happening, but there is one player that is very comfortable in comparison to the other on this pick, and it is going to be Milla as they close this out to make it 2-1. And put Baguette back on the bubble here to maintain parity in this match. Yep, and Milla kind of confirming the thing I was alluding to at the start of the map. They didn't play the start of the map because they needed to adjust the scroll speed. And Baguette opting to close out this 10-key pool. They're going to go for the 10-key LN as their response. So as things stand, just equal amounts of parity in this match. 2 Rice picks, 2 LN picks. 2 points for one, and Baguette looking to try and make it 2 points for the other. In my eyes, much more of a coordination style pick in comparison to some of the other LN charts in this pool. You see a sub 3-star rating, you know you're in for some, dare I say, slow. The 184 BPM might call me a bit of a liar, but in comparison to what you're doing on the other maps, you definitely have time to think about where your hands are going to be going at any given time. So we'll see how the players do. Will we make this 2-2, or could there potentially be a break point? We'll just have to wait and see. And that early slider break from Milla kind of gives us a bit of a taste as to what is to come here potentially as we get things started. Baguette finding a slider break in response, but just being able to remember where your fingers are supposed to be at any given time. And these longer sequences, the anchored lens really making it a trepidatious approach to handling the rest of the columns. Quarter of the map already done, 45,000 points to the good is Baguette. For the time being, already growing their accuracy advantage to about 5%. Anytime I want to mention combo the players finding their slider breaks, but they are trading these back and forth, and in this moment, Baguette will take that, being the one with more misses in the back pocket to work with, as they double their advantage going into the back half of the map now. And it's just trading comfort picks. I say comfort in the context of this match in particular. They themselves did mention these were the 2 key modes that they did look at, so probably have a good amount of practice with them. So paying off in spades here, guaranteeing themselves, or almost guaranteeing themselves, 2 opening points in this match. We'll just have to see what their game plan is going to be for the rest of it. As we continue on here, quarter of the map left to go. Lead just doubling each time I glance down at the score bar overall. As the density in the map begins to ramp up, a lot of these rice notes beginning to inundate the columns, keeping you busy through the LNs. on the others. And Baguette able to keep themselves in that S rank range. Milla hanging on for the A. Very good run overall. And we are tied once again. 2-2. What started as a best of 9 became a best of 7. Now a best of 5 as things stand. Players having a nice little laugh about it. I think, like I said, the mutual understanding between the two of these players probably goes back a lot farther than most people might realize, so nothing but respect between these two. Now for Baguette, they do still have the 9 key LN if they wanted to stay in this upper key range to go into A key Rice as well as a consideration. And for Milla, they do have... Oh! Don't even have to think about it. Milla's gonna opt to go into the 9 key LN. Imagine a little bit more practice on this. Them self-admittedly not the most seasoned 10 key players, so I think understanding their limits on that one. But maybe feeling a little bit more confident to go into something like this in a response. We'll just have to wait and see. Players are ready. We get into this 5th map of this best of 9. All things squared. Milla looking to try and maintain that. Baguette looking to try and get that first break point. As we get things started, Baguette gonna be the first one to blink in this opening sequence. Those release LN patterns catching them out, but Milla trading a couple of these misses as well. Not immune to the drops, but having a much better go of this introduction in comparison. Baguette down into the A rank range already to start things off. Milla in that 97% range. And again, this has just been a story of players picking to their comforts, the things that they know that they can play in the context of this match. And Milla being the beneficiary of it each time they find a drop. Baguette finds the trades as well. Another sequence of trades going on here as the lead grows to about 40,000 points. Not being exacerbated by any stretch of the imagination. This has been the smallest one we have seen going into the back half of a map so far. So not completely out of it is Baguette, but needing to build up their accuracy. They were flirting with that S rank range, but now back below that 95% mark and need to start picking it up just a little bit. Milla falling from their perch a little bit as well, not immune to those misses as I was mentioning, but just able to build up this combo. We've been seeing this from them over the last couple of weekends where, yeah, the accuracy might go by the wayside, but just being able to build up something to work with in those moments where they do find those drops in response. They build up a cushion to work with, and it has grown now once again back up over 60,000 points with the last 8th of the map coming through here. The syncopated patterns coming through. A couple of misses being exchanged through there. One more heavy sequence, but will quickly be at the end. And Milla going to be able to make it 3 for 3 on their picks. Make it 3-2 overall. And knock out the 9 key and 10 key maps in this pool overall. And Milla saying it's her first S on the map. You love to see it. The self-improvement, the things that can happen in a match situation. Just overperforming, really pushing yourself to squeeze out as much performance as you potentially can. And paying off in the end. I mean, these two no strangers to high pressure situations when it comes to tournaments, so not surprised that they can really just lock in when need be. And Baguette gonna be going for the 8-key rice pick. See how this one goes, and it's just been a back and forth between the reactions to the maps for these players, understanding themselves and maybe understanding what they need to do here. So we get this underway. Baguette with the mirror opting to have the scratch lane on the right hand. Really gonna keep the scratch lane on the left, as Baguette actually having a rough go through this opening sequence. Actually, both players having a bit of a rough go through it. The staircase runs, taking both of them for a bit of a ride down in the low A rank, high B rank range for both of them. Plenty of time to recover. Does make for some interesting exchanges down the line. The scratch lane catching out both players. As we begin to build up once again, Milla suddenly finding themselves in that S rank range all of a sudden. Again, not too far behind, beginning to build up in their own right. As the streams continue to rain down, I remember mentioning during the showcase that this is essentially a 7-key core stream pick with the scratch lanes added for that little bit of spice, a little garnish on top. And right now Milla handling it much better than Baguette for the moment. 36,000 points in the lead as Baguette finds themselves at 0 HP. But thankfully the no-fill, meaning they can continue on here. But the advantage firmly on Milla's side, and this was Baguette's pick, so breakpoint on the horizon potentially. Half the map still left to go, not out of it by any stretch of the imagination, but gonna need to start picking up the pace here. It's about 2% in terms of the accuracy discrepancy, but the amount of misses between the two of them is bolstering this lead for Milla as things stand. 50,000 points now as we continue on into the last quarter. Just trades left and right. It's hard to keep track of who has any combo to work with. The density just reaching all-time highs through some of those transitional sequences. And when they do get a chance to breathe is when we really start to see the accuracy begin to increase. But once the density comes back, these core streams begin to rain down. All hell really does break loose, and Milla has been the one taking advantage of it the entire time so far. 115,000 points to the good, despite being in that A rank range, just being that little bit more comfortable. And Milla is going to pick up the first break point in this match to make it 4-2. Match point situation now. As that was a bit of a roller coaster ride, all things said and done. A strong effort from Baguette, not gonna be enough in this instance. And now gonna need to try and get that breakpoint back at first opportunity. Milla asking if the 5-key rice pick maybe just forgetting what maps were banned out. And they are confirming that would be their pick, so thankfully not banned out. So we will see F1055 in this match. So as I mentioned, Baguette gonna need to get that breakpoint back here. Lest they give Milla the win. This is a very difficult map in the grand scheme of things. These lower key modes really pushing the difficulty curve. So I have to wait and see how the response is from both players. This is the lowest key we have seen so far all match. So as we get things started, these burst streams coming down, Baguette gonna be the one picking up the first break through the introduction, down into that 95% range. The mini jacks on the inner columns, catching them out. Milla not immune to the misses as well. Now the jacks moving to the outer columns as things begin to build up once again. But so far, the only real drops coming from Baguette as Milla begins to establish a bit of a foothold in this map. The chords begin to be interspersed throughout the delayed streams. And Baguette down into that low A rank range. Milla 97% and 80,000 points in the back pocket to work with through this first third. Looking very good for them so far through this opening sequence. As things begin to calm down ever so slightly. A chance for the players to recoup a little bit before diving back on into the real meat and potatoes of this map. And as the density begins to pick up, the accuracy begins to fall on the blue side of the lobby. 125,000 points to lead for Milla. 1,000 combo as well. Firmly in that S rank range as well, has been able to weather some of the more difficult sequences in this map beautifully. And it's attributing to this massive advantage that they have built up. A third of the map left to go. Baguette trying to do everything in their power to try and claw back some of this lead, but might just be at the end of the rope in terms of comfort on this particular map. Down into that low A rank range. Gonna be giving over thousands of points over to Milla as things stand, who finally finds a couple of breaks of their own, but with 200,000 points to work with, there's very little that can go wrong at this point. An eighth of the map still left to go here. Baguette down into that 0 HP range, down into the 87% mark. And this run is well and truly over for them. Last couple of sequences begin to rain down in the outro, and Milla will close it out successfully by a score of 5-2 to close out the first weekend of quarterfinals. Very well played by both the players here. There were some very exciting back and forths, but Milla just being able to get that break point at the opportune time and successfully capitalizing on it to close this match out. Congratulations to Milla for picking up the win here on what has been a very eventful weekend to start the quarterfinals. Very well played overall. But that will do it for us here today and for the weekend. There are no more matches, and the fact that there is a part 2 to quarterfinals means that there will be no showcase this weekend. We're going to take a break. Let everybody enjoy the week. We'll continue on this map pool. And we'll catch you guys once we have everybody scheduled. You guys will know your matchups already. So we hope to see a ton more multi-key action next weekend. Until then, we'll catch you guys later.